Welcome to the first Start Afresh breakfast. This has taken us a little while to get going. We had planned for this just after about the middle of February, but a cyclone that hit the country disrupted that significantly. It's great to have Galen George and Bob Aleo here with us today. They're going to tell us a little bit about their NIR technology. Before I do that, I first want to say thank you to Tyler for pulling this together for me. So thanks, and for Start Afresh. So thanks, Tyler, and also the team at the Tauranga Yacht Club for the breakfast this morning. The concept of the breakfast was just, as I say, an opportunity to showcase new tech. One thing I want to say to you is that it's not an endorsement. I have to say that, but I want to say that because Start Afresh is an independent research provider. We help companies to get their technology operating in our industry, but we're not here to endorse the technology today, and we don't make any commercial gain out of this. Of course, we've done some R&D, and in this case, that R&D has been both paid for by Felix and by Zespri, but it's not a commercial gain. We don't stand up here and make a pile of money out of giving Galen the opportunity. He's got to sell his wares to you himself. Before I hand over to these guys and get them to tell you all about what they've done, this is a concept. It's the first one. We plan to have about 3 to 4 of these a year. Hopefully I won't have them in the middle of the harvest season, and there might be a few more people next time. Although we don't want to have too many more people. It costs a fortune to feed Pranoi and all of those other people. See, Pranoi, you knew I was going to pick on you. But if you're guests of ours today, if you know of technology that you'd love others to hear about, or you've got some other ideas, then we're keen to hear about it too. If we can create the opportunity to showcase, then we're keen to do it. I think on our next one, we're looking to have a couple of booths. So there'll be a key speaker, but there'll also be some other technology for people to wander around and have a look at. So that's Start Afresh Breakfast 2. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Galen George, the Director of Applied Science at CID Biosciences, who's going to shape the story of their and share the story of their NIR device development. And he's going to be joined by Bob, after he's spoken. Bob comes from Matt Solutions, and they're the local distributor of the technology. So, Galen, welcome to New Zealand. Great to have you here. Thanks.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us this morning. As Dave already said, we really appreciate you guys coming and taking your time out of your busy schedules. I know it's the middle of harvest, but we're really excited to talk to you about this technology because we really think it's going to make a big impact in how we do quality assessment in this industry. And so, just some introductions first. I want to talk about myself really quick, and then we'll talk about our company. My name is Galen. I'm the Director of Applied Science at Felix Instruments, which is a sister company to CID Bioscience. We have, over the past 30 years now, really honed in on making non-destructive instruments, scientific instruments, for plant research and now also for commercial agriculture applications. My background's in food science. I've worked in a lot of labs my whole life, doing a lot of quality assessment and safety assessment in the agriculture, finished foods, and cannabis sectors. So a little bit about our company first. Some of you might not be aware of who we are. We are a small company based out of Camas, Washington in the United States. That's in the Pacific Northwest. And we are a company of about 25 people that manufacture, engineer, develop, do all the R&D for, commercialize, and create technology solutions. So we do all of that in-house. We build, we manufacture, we assemble, we do the engineering, all in-house at our facility in Camas, Washington. Now, how does a company of 25 people actually get all those instruments out to users worldwide? Is we rely on a distribution network. And so that's why we have Bob with us today, who will talk after this. But we rely on these distribution partners to help us have better support and service and sales in a localized region. And so Bob is based out of New Zealand, and so to better address our New Zealand customer base, he's our point of contact. So you have someone who's local and can actually help service and sell you instruments right in your own country. We are utilized worldwide, as I mentioned. So we have customers in over 100 different countries right now, all sorts of different growing regions for all sorts of different commodities. So we don't just make kiwi fruit instrumentation, we make instrumentation for a lot of different industries. And the main thing that we do at Felix Instruments is portable quality sensors. And these sensors use NIR spectroscopy as the base technology. And with this technology, it is possible to do rapid, non-destructive measurements that give you multiple different quality traits for the internal quality of a commodity. So right now, we have 4 different commercial, products for our NIR line of instruments. We call these the F-751s, and we have an avocado version, we have a kiwi fruit version, and we have a mango version, and we actually are just releasing a melon version as well. We also have an F-750, which is kind of a generalized research instrument that can be used for any of these commodities. All of the models work across all the instruments. So you can really, it's basically all the same hardware, just a different model. And so we've spent a lot of time building up these sensors so that they can provide the end user with a reliable means to take rapid measurements non-destructively, so you don't have to actually destroy your fruit. Use them wherever you need to use them. Use them out in the field. They're robust enough to handle field conditions and varying field temperatures and lighting conditions. They're accurate enough to give you confidence in the results, and they're also able to provide you even more insights than what normal testing schemes can provide you. So the ability to collect even more data to give you bigger data insights is another key component of this technology. Now, I'm not just going to say, we have customers everywhere and keep it that vague. We do have customers that have had great success implementing this technology in their specific businesses or commodity sectors. So our one really big, probably most well-known success story is with the Australian Mango Industry Association. They've got upwards of 100 units right now that they use across their entire industry to help them monitor maturity throughout the entire growing season and help inform when they need to harvest at the optimal time in varying regions throughout Australia. And this goes across multiple different mango cultivars. And so they've been using this now for a long time and using it quite successfully to map out all this data and actually plan for their harvest in a more, big data informed way that allows them to make sure that they're getting the optimal quality from their fruit and harvesting exactly when they should be. Another success story coming out of Australia actually is the Costa Group. They are avocado growers. They have a lot of orchards, and they also are in charge of packing. They've got multiple units deployed across multiple orchards. They're measuring Hass, Maluma Hass, and Shepherd avocados. And they're doing something similar to Australia where they're trying to, in the field, map out their quality and actually monitor the maturity of the crop. But then what they're doing is just dumping that data into their own proprietary solutions, their current business data stream, and doing all that mapping in-house. And so this instrument is meant to be this kind of open source instrument where you can do with it whatever you need to in order to get that data into whatever platform you need to get it into and to do whatever you need to do with the technology. It's trying to be as open of a solution as possible so that you and transparent as possible so you have access to all the data. You can see everything that happens within the instrument. So in late 2019, we actually had a meeting with Dave at Start Afresh, and we learned about this initiative that Zespri wanted to undertake, where we were going to essentially collect data over multiple seasons, do all these kinds of validation trials with our current model that we had in 2019. And they were doing this with our technology alongside all sorts of other NIR technologies, just to assess how well this technology could fit into your existing systems. And so what we did is we worked closely with Dave and Sean to collect a whole bunch of data, test it against our models, add that data into the model, run new iterations, and test and validate over multiple seasons, over multiple conditions, rain, different rainfall conditions, different temperature conditions, and lighting conditions, and all sorts of different variables, because all this variability needs to be built into these models. And so what we did is, over the last 3 seasons, we've been collecting that data, validating, and now we're at the stage where we look at this model and we have a pretty good degree of confidence in what the model can actually do. And so I wanted to actually show you some data, and I have full validation reports here for anyone that wants to take this data back, look at it, analyze it, assess it for yourself. This is just going to be a quick little summary of exactly what we've done for these models, but we have the full, robust reports on this table here, printed out, ready for you. As I mentioned, we have 2 different instruments. We have this F-750 and we have this F-751. The F-750 is a research unit. The 751 is meant for more commercial applications. And what I wanted to do was to show you the differences between the 2 instruments, so that can help better inform your decision on which instrument is the right fit for your company or your operations. And so what I've done here is essentially take out 100 data points of F-750 data, 100 data points of F-751 data, randomized across all seasons that we've collected data from New Zealand. This is New Zealand only data. And I've compared how the F-750 performs versus the F-751. And there's a lot of statistics underneath as well to help summarize that. But essentially what the point I want to get across with these graphs is that we have very similar performance. And that's because we've done due diligence to ensure that the data within the model is equivalent from both types of instruments. And so when you do that, the neural network we use can actually learn which type of instrument is being used, and it can more accurately predict based on the instrument type. And so another thing I wanted to just kind of point out is the actual accuracy numbers. So this is averaged over 100 data points. You can see that the average between the reference method, which is for dry matter, the oven drying method, versus our F-750 or F-751 average across 100 devices, or across 100 measurements, is within 0.08, 0.1 of each other. That's an average of 100 fruit, so it's easy to have averages of large fruit be really close to each other. But if you look on a single scan basis, our RMSEs are below 1, which means that on average, when you take a measurement with a device, if you scanned any random kiwi fruit, this is for gold, so if you scan any random gold kiwi fruit and you then take that same kiwi fruit and you put it in the oven and you dry it, those 2 measurements on average are going to be within 0.64 for the F-750 or 0.79 for the F-751 of each other. And so that is the kind of level of accuracy that we wanted to see. We wanted to bring it, you want to bring it down as low as possible. With compounding errors, it is impossible to get this to be an exact one-to-one relationship, because you have error present in the human operator of the oven, how they're cutting the kiwi fruit, all those compounding errors, combined with the fact that we're actually modeling based on those techniques that have error. This is really good performance for including all those compounding errors. For green, we have something similar. I also did not remove any data from these data sets, so I included, if there are bad predictions or outliers, those are all included. So you can see, for the 750, there's a couple fruit that predicted too high based on the destructive measurements only around 13 or 14, but it's predicting almost 17 or 18. So there are those times where you'll get a scan that is a randomly too high scan or randomly too low prediction scan. But that's where the power of averaging comes in, because if you are taking scans of multiple fruit and using the average, then what you do is you smooth out that error and you still get really good predictions. And so with the Hayward Green, this is still dry matter. We're seeing, again, RMSEs below 1, and the F-751 actually outperforming the F-750. So they're very equivalent technologies. And with the red, we have a little bit above 1 for the F-750 and just around 1 for the F-751. One thing I want to say is that this isn't, I think that there's a perception with this technology that we create it and then we wash our hands of it, we're done, we give it out, and that's that. But that's not how this technology works, and we know that. We know that this requires updating. These models require updating with new data, and every season, adding new data in, revalidating, making sure that the entire range that you guys need to be able to predict in is represented in our data sets. So we make a very concerted effort to make sure that this technology works for you the way you want it to work for you. We don't just make it and abandon it and let you guys deal with it, the accuracy, and that's that. So we're going to continue to collect data. We've got more data from this season that we'll be adding into the model, filling in some gaps in the range to make sure that everything's evenly distributed as far as all of our reference data, and just continuing to make sure that it remains temperature independent, that it remains independent of all these other variables that you're going to encounter, weather variables and on all this stuff. So that is how this technology works, and that is our philosophy on how this technology works, is that we aren't going to just make it and abandon it for you guys to just deal with. So we're always going to want to cooperate with you to make sure that it works the way you need it to work. And just as a little bit of a wrap up, as I've already mentioned, these instruments can be used anywhere really along the supply chain, and I think that's going to be a pretty instrumental key to this technology, is that we can use the same exact tech in the field, at the pack house, along the supply chain to make sure that the quality is staying the way we need it to. Because at the end of the day, it is all about what the consumer is getting and the quality that the consumer is perceiving from your fruit. And with all of the challenges this industry faces as far as climate change, varying weather conditions, extreme weather conditions, labor shortages, all sorts of other challenges that are going to be new challenges that we'll see in the future. With all of that, this kind of technology, NIR technology, the F-751s, and other online NIR technologies, and all are going to be very beneficial for the industry as far as quality control is concerned, but also on saving time on doing measurements, saving fruit waste, so reducing food waste, reducing labor costs, reducing inaccuracies between different operators of instruments and quality assurance technicians that are doing, maybe they're doing different techniques. So all this stuff, we're just looking for consistency, non-destructive ability, and the ability to do it wherever along the supply chain. And so this kind of technology provides all of that. And I just really think that this is a great time in this development of this technology for us to start thinking about how this technology is going to shape our industry here, and also how it's going to be able to fit into your current practices. And that's really all I wanted to say. Again, afterwards, if you guys want, we can actually show you some hands-on demo with the instruments. You can play with them. You can see what they're all about. We have, as I mentioned, validation reports up here as well. And I will have my business cards out as well for you guys to take. But I will pass the torch on to Bob and let him talk a little bit about what kind of service he provides locally for you guys. So, Bob?
Well, thanks for the opportunity and for coming out, well, relatively early for most people. Thanks, Dave, for the opportunity as well to be a part of this. How many people have used an NIR or come across an NIR? Oh, great, brilliant. I don't need to babble on about it then. All right. I perceive NIR as near infrared, which means it gives you nearness. It gets you close to the result. But then the closer you are is determined by how much background data is in it. What's in the model? How robust is the model? The R-squared value that we've just seen. So there's a lot of work that's gone into this, and I'm standing here very excited after a long 3 years of waiting that we actually have a model that works. And that's not the device itself, but the backing data. So anyway, enough about that. So I'm Bob Aleo, Matt Solutions. So we are based in Christchurch, but do cover the entire country for services. So we have a business that started as part of another business, started in 1987. So we've been around a while, a family-owned business, and we have now 2 distinct businesses out of that. One of them is Matt Solutions. So we supply instruments, support them, and we also have a testing laboratory, which gives us really great insight into applications, specifically enabling us to be able to hands-on work with customers on different challenges. For agriculture and environment, we have, of course, NIR, we have gas analysis, soils and environment, things like your soil sensors and capacitance, as well as weather stations and the like from meter. Plant growth chambers, it's a recent addition. You can think of it as a fancy incubator that can do CO2 control, ethylene control, as well as temperature and humidity, of course, and light. And then we also have, which is not applicable in this room necessarily, but grain handling and sampling solutions as well. On the food side, we have a range of instruments. Again, kind of goes across with the modified atmosphere packaging, so gas analysis, oxygen, carbon dioxide, ethylene. Water activity, how dry is something, NIR again, leak detection. So we've got texture, and at the bottom there we've got temperature and humidity control. But one thing that's really cool that we do is shelf life analysis, because we have an entire side of the business that's focused on shelf life and shelf life improvement solutions. Now, I bring this here because this is the basis of the lab that we've got that then allows us to do some fancy stuff. Nothing to the level that Start Afresh does, might add. That's a next level, but our operation is based on informing a customer definitively on what their product's going to behave like in different environments and different, you can call it, we're subjected to different challenges to see the resulting effect on shelf life. So here today, in partnership with Felix, so since 2017, we've been working with Felix Instruments, and we look after their solutions in New Zealand. So we import them, supply them locally, and we also relentlessly support them. So without question, anything happens, we're your local port of call. So from the NIR to the gas analysis solutions as well. So we have other partners we work with, so the Hunter Labs for colour, we have Meter Environment that do the soil and environmental monitoring solutions. All through that, we are not the source of everything, however, so we're not a catalogue company. I won't give you a fat catalogue and expect you to choose what you want. However, we prefer for you to talk to us. So we like to think of ourselves, like the name says, Matt Solutions. We're a solution-based company, so we listen to what your challenge is, and then we try and find a solution that fits that challenge. However, if we don't have it, then chances are we know where to find it or where we can refer you to. So we do not expect you to just pick something from the table and take it away and use it. Well, in this case, whatever is on the table is ready to use. However, we work with you to get the best solution for the job. So our premium service, I think the name says it all. It's a service, and that's why we have a business that's been growing double digits for the last, 15 years. And this is because our service is based on a guarantee on offering you support. So everything we sell, and we have a wee bit of experience with NIR. So we do sell some pretty fancy NIR, some of them hundreds of thousands of dollars, and all of them are supported locally. So we have fully trained in-house technicians that either do it in-house in Christchurch or travel the country. So our most northern customer at the moment is in Mangataroto, and the southernmost is Bluff, and we cover everything in between. And we do have customers in feed mills and farm and food manufacturing and the like. The key part is I wanted to highlight is, for example, with this device, if something happens, you buy one and something happens to it, you drop it, or if you run over it with a truck, then that's a different story. But something within reason happens to it and you need support, we're there to help you. Now, something that we pride ourselves in is a very, very interesting insurance policy, which most people appreciate. When you buy a device like this and you have to send it away, for example, to Christchurch for service, every courier company, doesn't matter who it is, will only cover you up to $2,000. And most people get nervous sending a device like that when they know what the cover is. So we have a service, an insurance policy at Mat Solutions that when the device leaves your door to when it comes back to your door, it's our responsibility for full replacement value. And that's completely free. So you don't have to pay for anything else. And we also have free loan machines. So we have devices that are ready to go within reason, availability of course. But we have devices ready to go. If something happens to your device, we just make sure that the loan device has the same model as you've been using and with no offsets. I must add, if there is offsets, we'll apply them first before we give you the device. We'll send you a device overnight, again, free of charge. You get it, you start using it, you send yours in, and for as long as we retain your instrument, you can keep ours until you get yours back. Of course, we charge for the servicing part of it, okay? But the loan machine is free of charge. And the other part of this is the model updates. Now, I've worked with NIR for a wee bit of time and come across some interesting challenges with model updates. And the negative perception about performance on NIR is based on an underlying misinformation of perfection. So 1 divided by 1, okay, doesn't exist. R squared of 1 doesn't exist. Well, 9, I've seen 9, 8 before, but this was for something completely homogeneous. And they had, 80,000 samples in the model, and it doesn't change. But we work with Felix, who work with Start Afresh, to collect the data season upon season upon season, and we update that model. Once we update that model, if your instrument comes in for service, we update your instrument's model to the latest model free of charge at the moment, okay? So it's free of charge. So you get an updated validation model in your instrument to get better results in the next season, and this is a free service, okay? So I'm talking everything free, 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 free. There is a catch, okay? So the catch is you need to buy the device, okay? And for this meeting, we do have instruments that were utilized in the collection of these models, in the collection of this data, to create the models. And so we would like to offer those instruments at a discounted rate, and I think it'll be 25% off the price, list price. And so I'm a salesman. I'm just blunt and unashamedly so. So put your hands up if you want to approach me. I've got business cards here if you want to take this up, but it won't be repeated. So there's how many devices? 16 or 17 devices. And after that, the 25% is gone, okay? Now, they didn't fall off a truck, okay? So they have been utilized in the model development, but they didn't fall off a truck. So what Mat Solutions is going to do, we're going to get all the devices back. We're going to run a full service on them. If there's batteries need replaced, whatever accessories need to be checked. And when you get these devices, you're going to get them with full warranty, just like a brand new instrument, okay? And if anything happens again, we're just based in Christchurch. So it's not, and in the same time zone, I must add. So, yeah, it's an added advantage. So, thank you very much. I don't want to blabber on too much. And any questions, please do get in touch. Right here, happy to help. Thank you.
Right, I know I'm keeping you guys from harvest, some of you. I just want to say thank you. First of all, Galen's come from mid-northwest, is that what you called it? Mid-northwest of the US. He had a false start getting here in February, and then he's been out for the avocado conference, so I think looking forward to getting home. Bob, thanks for coming up from Christchurch. I reiterate any ideas you've got for a Start Afresh breakfast, we're happy to hear them. Any feedback you've got, if you think that maybe this morning wasn't quite what you thought it would be, I told you it would be a free breakfast. That's all I told you, and you got that. So no. But if the breakfast wasn't to your liking, let us know too. Thanks all for coming out. If you want to catch up with Galen or Bob up here, please come up and do that now. It's your opportunity. That 25% discount that they're offering. Just one thing I did want to reiterate, Galen had mentioned it, is that this piece of work was part of a wider piece of work. There were a range of other technologies, NIR, that were evaluated. We may or may not in the future talk about the other technologies, depends on those companies, but that's part of our independence. We've captured this data independently, and we've given that data unchanged, unchallenged to Galen and his team. In fact, the way that happens is that we capture 100% of a data set, and we only give them a portion of the data for them to create the models on. So it is, they get a blind, half of the data set is blind. They don't get to see it all until they provide us a prediction. When they provide us a prediction, we give them back the other half of the data set, and they can't change the prediction after that. So that's the way that we run these independent studies, to ensure that there is independence in there and that we're not just fudging the numbers. Have a great rest of your day. For those of you that are out harvesting, stay safe. Thank you very much.